Yeah, you mentioned something that in the field of neurology, and Dr. Mike, you can speak to this. Neurons that fire together, wire together, you know, and habits of the mind are hard to break, right? So you want to speak to that, Dr. Mike?
Yeah, I mean, we know that there's something called long-term potentiation, which means that the brain can change and grow and adapt for our entire lives. You know, we know that we can have an 85-year-old stroke patient, for instance, who loses function in an arm. And, you know, within a year of aggressive rehabilitation, we can regain function in that arm, even though the area was actually damaged. So if we can rehabilitate, somebody, an 85-year-old person who's had brain damage, you know, what is the real capacity of the brain to heal and to modify and grow? It all depends on what we're doing for it. And, you know, I'll just give you like a real simple explanation. When we talk about wellness, and you know, you've mentioned multiple times that wellness is a process, wellness is a mindset. It takes up to 20 years before somebody finds out that they have dementia. So literally, the day that they have that first symptom of, you know, where's my car parked, they've had this for 20 years. And so, you know, health is not the absence of disease. It's an ongoing process that we need to be aware of. And I'll give you an example. Let's say you're 50 years old, and every single day for the past 50 years, you have an oven and you cooked a giant roast beef in the oven without a cover on the top of the pan. And it's, as the oven is cooking the roast, it's splattering all over the inside of the oven. And for 50 years, you never ever clean the oven. After 50 years, the inside of the oven would be caked with all kinds of grease and grime and waste that got all over the oven because you never cleaned it. Well, that's actually what's going on inside of us all the time. Every time we burn food and create energy, we create waste. And the waste comes in many different forms, but it builds up in our body. Our body has a self-cleaning button, just like usually ovens at this point have a self-cleaning oven. So every couple of weeks, you hit that self-clean, it burns off all that gunk on the inside of the oven, it looks brand new. Our body has that same thing. It's called the process of autophagy. The problem is that we never kick it in because it only kicks in when we're exercising and when we're fasting. We have this built-in mechanism that says, hey, we're going to clean out your body and your brain, but we never ever use it because of our lifestyle. We're not meant to eat 3 to 5 times every day. We made that up. In nature, animals feed and fast all the time. A tiger can eat today and not eat again for 5 days. And that's by design. In religion, we fast. You know, we have different days of fasting to purify the mind and the body. That's physiological as well as emotional and mental and religious. So there are so many things that we can be doing to become more resilient that we need to be, you know, really imparting on a regular basis. The problem is we're just not taught this way. We're taught that when you're feeling good, you don't need to go to the doctor. When you feel sick, you go to the doctor. Usually you get something to deal with the symptoms you're dealing with, and the doctor implies come back when you're sick again. And that's just not wellness.
Well, yeah, that's a sickness model, right? And that brings me, you know, resiliency is focused on prevention, and everything, the word resiliency, everyone was talking about when COVID hit, in sports, in approach to the pandemic, wherever you watch any show and the word resiliency pops up, you know. And we talked about how resiliency becomes more of a word that people, it's positive psychology, it's less stigmatizing. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's so acceptable, is as people are talking about mental health, they can digest, no pun intended, the word resiliency more. It's in packaging, and I don't really care what words we use as long as we're tending to our wellness. And we can't assume that it just comes naturally. We have to make sure we tend to it. And why zebras don't get ulcers is what you spoke about before, Dr. Mike, is that zebras either escape or get eaten. There is no state of chronic stress. And we have to make sure that we are constantly making the effort that we take care of ourselves